Time once again for the Kaufman Corner podcast with you as always. Former Kansas City Royal, Les Norman, Breaking the Norm, his great show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. David Lesky from Inside the Crown. We are talking Royals baseball, so you know what that means here today. It means we're talking Jac Caglianone. The biggest story continues to be, especially with the rain out, now his debut. What did we think of his first time out? What do we expect from him the rest of the season? The batting order, the lineup, what should it look like now with Jac Caglianone as a part of it? Should they be looking to lock up Jac Caglianone long-term, something a number of teams have done with their young stars? Cole Ragans set to return today. How to handle the rotation here moving forward. What does a World Series version of the Royals look like? This is something I hatched on the radio show, basically just saying, okay, they're there. So what happened? What do they do? What were the moves that were made, or what were the decisions? Who plays where at this point, if they are indeed good enough to get all the way to the World Series? And how concerned should we be about the bullpen? We're talking about it right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it, get with Dave and he'll have you covered. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
All right, thank you very much, Curtis. Appreciate it. How about it, boys? Let's dive right into all things Jac Caglianone. We got to see him. He does go 0 for 5. He hits a couple of balls over 110 miles per hour. He sees only 10 pitches and 5 at-bats. Les, what did you think? First look. You opened your new gift. It's Christmas Day. What do you think? You took it right out. You went to play with it. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's still – maybe I'm not figuring out how to work it yet, but I'm still excited about the gift. You know, it's I was so excited. My son sent me a text and he said, "Hey, did you look at your phone?" I said, "It's on Do Not Disturb. It's going all day." He said, "Look at your text." And I saw it. And instantly I ran and got my tickets to that game Tuesday night against the Yankees at home. So he's excited. We're all excited. In watching the at-bats, I like the fact in that first game that he came out and swung the bat. I know people say, well, it's only 10 pitches, 2 per at-bat average. I get all that stuff, but the thing for me is that you're not taking too many pitches. He didn't seem overwhelmed with a curveball or a changeup. Now, the first ball, center fielder makes a great play. You happen to be playing against one of the best, if not the best defense in all of baseball. So, yeah, he could have been 2 for 5. So I look at it that way. I look at the exit velo. I know I'm not usually the guy that looks at those things, but he's hitting the ball hard. He did not look overwhelmed. I thought he looked great. I thought the last at bat he pressed a little bit. Probably should have taken that pitch, that little slider that was down, caused him to hit the ground ball. Probably, okay, I want to get this hit now. It's going to be my last at bat. He was lucky to get that extra at bat. So overall, I'll give him a B if I had to grade it. It's exciting. Hit the ball hard. That's all you can do. So just play. Just go tonight and go play.
I didn't realize we were giving out grades. I'm going to have it now. I like it. No, listen, it was exciting. I will definitely give you that. And it was Lesky, whatever, David. One. We'll go.
We just meld into each other.
Yeah, exactly. It was his first time, and he's not a guy who takes a ton of pitches. So I don't think any of us expect him to, 5 at-bats to be 38 pitches. That's just not the kind of hitter he is. But maybe a little bit antsy, right? You could tell he was up there. And seeing pitches that start in the zone and end up out of the zone. This is the difference between AAA and the big leagues. What did you think?
Yeah. Well, so I pulled up the chart because I was trying to remember exactly where the pitches were, and he swung at the first pitch he saw. It was a fastball above the zone. I don't hate it. Fouled it off. Whatever. Fine. He only got one other pitch that was really outside the zone, and he took it. The other pitches, the one that is considered a chase that he had, that he fouled it off against Palante in his first at bat. Also, I could argue that if they had ABS, it would be called a strike if they challenged it. If he took it and it was called a ball, it was right on the edge. So I didn't hate the swings, and even that last one, Les, to your point, it hit 114 miles per hour. I'm looking at the chart; it was right down the middle. I mean, that's what was it? It was a cutter down the middle. Maybe he read it wrong, and that's why he didn't lift it instead of whatever.
You talking about the fifth at bat?
Yeah, the fifth at bat.
Oh,
I thought it was lower too.
I saw. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was lower too, actually. And that's why I pulled it up, because you said that. And I was like, well, I want to see how low that was, because it's been 2 days. It's been more than 10 minutes, so I've forgotten completely. But I didn't – the swing decisions were generally fine. I mean, the probably the worst pitch he swung at to hit was the first at bat. Well, not the worst pitch. The worst pitch that he connected with was the first at bat. There was the curve that was dipping out of the zone that he mishit for 390 feet.
Right. Yeah.
The power is absurd. And I said it on Monday with you, Soren, that he's going to hit home runs no matter what the average is, because he mishits balls and they go over the wall. And so, I mean, I don't know. My letter grade's incomplete, I think, because it's such a small sample. But it was impressive to see the kind of contact he can make, the power he can provide on pitches that you shouldn't provide power on, and he hit a couple balls. I know people get sick of exit velocity, but when you hit it 112 plus, you're going to have success. Like, right. You might be 0 for 2 in one game. You might be 2 for 2 in another, but 112 plus, you're going to get hits. And did he swing and miss at all? I don't think so. He didn't have a single whiff, made good contact. That's all you can ask for. Yes, I'd like to see him lift the ball more, but it was good contact.
Listen, again, I want to remind people, he stepped up a level. Okay. Mm-hmm. He didn't forget how to hit. Like, these guys are better. They're better than the pitchers that he saw in the minor leagues. I guess I would say, I don't think you're going to suddenly turn him into Jim Tomei and have him walk 120 times. That's just not who he is. Like, he would have developed that aspect of his game. Although Nick Lofton may be the guy who rewrites my feeling. Kevin Seitzer told me he became a selective hitter after his freshman year in college. Moneyball told us you had it figured out by high school. Right. I amended to 1 year later because of what Kevin Seitzer said. He was the last guy to walk 100, last guy to walk, I think, 80 times in a Royals uniform. So he's not suddenly going to morph into that. My question to you would be, and David's right about like where the pitches would be, but part of being a slugger is there may be a pitch in the strike that you just have to look at. There's no point in going ahead and swinging. Mm-hmm. If it's borderline, okay, it was it was on the black and he's probably going to get that call, but you can't do anything with it anyway, right? That's my hope, is that the chase gets a little bit better because he's chasing pitches that he can still go ahead and put wood on. To David's point, he still did get the bat on these balls, but he wasn't getting solid hard contact, right? His hard contact rate is higher than anybody, and hopefully that's going to continue. But there are pitches that are strikes that hopefully when you build a reputation, maybe get the benefit of the doubt call. But even if you don't, you can't do anything with them. Did you see anything there to where maybe he should have laid off a couple extras, even if they were going to be strikes, just because they're not ones? There was one that was high and inside that he seemed to get the hands in and come through that. I'm like, you got to try to recognize that a little bit better. You can't do anything with that anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, but I'm not looking for that on opening night. Your first night in the big leagues, you're just like, if I can reach it, I'm coming unglued.
Why would you be, Les? You're handing out bees like they're cupcakes,
David, I wanted David's grade on the opening. He gave me the incomplete, so I appreciate that. I had enough of those in college, so I relate to those incompletes. So
I think it was a cowardly way to go.
You want my grade? A+.
I'll give you a grade B-. B-.
Yeah, I'm B- somewhere in there. If you really
patronize Soren. Don't patronize him. Opening night, I wasn't looking for that because I didn't expect that. Now, today's split doubleheader, and as he gets into Chicago and starts there, I'm looking for a slow move into, that might be a strike, but it's not a drivable strike. And look, I think that to your point, Soren, you talked about like he did seem to get his hands inside that one pitch. I think he fouled it straight down, pitch that most people would never get to, because I think that was an upper 90s fastball you're talking about maybe, but most guys couldn't. So I looked at that like, okay, there you can see his talent, that even though he doesn't square it up, he has the ability to get to that. And that's going to show pitchers that, well, maybe I can't always get away with those pitches, you know? So we're seeing his talent, his strength, his power, his speed, all those things together. But now each game I'm going to start watching, was that a pitcher's pitch or was that a hitter's pitch? Because hitters look zone, good hitters look zone, not necessarily, you know, it's fastball. You don't guess, but you think fastball and you adjust. You feed off the off-speed feeds off of the fastball all the time. It's what keeps your rhythm and keeps your balance. But then as you get used to seeing pitches, you get used to the league, you get used to seeing how they pitch you, you're listening to the hitting coaches and the veterans, then you realize, okay, that's a strike. Could I drive it? Maybe. But and again, to David's point, he will miss some balls that will go out of the park, because that's what 6'4", 250 does for you. But if he really wants to be good at this game on the hitting side, University of Florida alone and AA and AAA alone stats aren't going to get it done. He does need to learn this part of the game. I think he will. I think he's a mature guy. But now we start watching pitcher's pitch. Probably shouldn't have swung at it because he flew out, but he flew out deep. If it's 2 inches more toward the middle, now it's a 470-foot home run. So let's watch now and see. Let's check out his takes. I don't mind a strikeout on a marginal pitch once in a while if he takes it. But if he's swinging and missing at a lot of those pitchers' pitches, then he's going to need to reel that back in.
Yeah, for sure. And look, as we look forward to where he's going, what do you expect for the rest of the season, David? How did that tantalize you into thinking he's going to be what from here moving forward?
I mean, he's going to hit the ball hard, and when you hit the ball hard, you have success. It's that simple. Like I said, people get sick of hearing about exit velocity and expected averages and all that, but the reality is that when you do good things to the baseball, or mean things to the baseball, maybe, if you're, depending on which perspective you're coming from,
that ball had a family. That kind of
well, not anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to have success, and I go thinking about what you mentioned. There are strikes you shouldn't swing at. I think back to, this was 2022 when Pasquantino came up and he was super selective. People said, "Oh, you've got great plate discipline," and he got really upset about it. He goes, "No, I don't take pitches. I swing at the right pitches," and that's a big difference. And Matt Quatrero uses the term swing decisions all the time, and I'd heard it before, but he really hammered it home in 2023. And that's actually better than plate discipline, because plate discipline is about taking pitches, and that's perception of it. But it's the swing decisions. It's swinging at the right pitches. You're right, and I think he's a very quick learner, it seems like. And Rusty Kuntz has mentioned that. A couple other people in the organization have said that in interviews. And he's fast to pick things up. The other thing that I heard, and one of my good friends from college is a scout, and he has seen Caglianone and obviously, runs around in scout circles and has talked to them. Said the big difference, he thinks back to Ohtani last year. Shohei Ohtani didn't pitch last year and had his best offensive season. And a lot of people attribute that to only focusing on hitting. And now Jac Caglianone is only focusing on hitting. And what's happened? He's exploded this season. And obviously we don't know what the big leagues will look like, but there is a definite belief around the game that, hey, it's cool that he can do both, Ohtani and Caglianone. But when he can focus on just the one he's better at, oh boy, you don't know what's going to happen. And so I think that we can look back at what he's done in college, what he did last year, the chasing, the swinging, all that. And I'm not entirely sure that it tells the full story, because he's no longer doing two things. He's no longer splitting his attention and dividing his workouts and all that. And, I thought it was funny in the call-up video with Mike Jershely, he said, "Are you getting tired? You've been doing a lot of stuff." And I'm like, he's been working on right field and first base. This guy used to pitch and hit. I don't think working on an outfield position is going to wear him out, which obviously it was a setup, for the video. But I think that's a point that we really haven't talked about very much. And I think because of that, I think I'm not going to say he's going to put up. I mean, I mentioned Ryan Howard numbers on your show, Soren, and Jordan Alvarez. I've shows as like the top end of midseason rookie call-ups. I'm not saying that'll happen, but I think you could see a better batting average than I think we would have even predicted a year ago, which leads to a better on base percentage, because eventually pitchers stop pitching to him. And it's just this snowball effect. And it would not surprise me if, assuming he doesn't wear down at the end of the year, because this is his first 6-month season. Although, again, he pitched and hit for 3 years in Florida. So there's a lot of wear and tear there. But assuming he doesn't wear down, I think you could see September be better than August, be better than July, be better than June.
Yeah. Les, what do you expect here for the rest of the year?
I expect he's going to start getting his hits. Once you break through that seal, you're going to be fine. Again, I've always touted his maturity since listening to him talk, watching him hit in Omaha in the World Series when he was with Florida. I just felt like even before the Royals drafted him, we were watching him, and I thought, man, this he's one of the guys that can really play. He was just different, not just because his size. We can get all geeked up about the guy that's a monster, but he plays with such athleticism, and that's great. And it's rare to have all those combinations to grade out like that. But I think he's gonna have a good finish to the season. We keep talking about it. I just hope the Royals don't heap any pressure on him or fans. Someone's going to heap pressure on him. I just hope they don't do it. I mean, I think it was helpful that the Royals scored 10 runs. Interestingly enough, he's the only guy in the lineup that didn't get a hit that night. I mean, everybody got at least one, but yet they won. And so, and put some runs up like they haven't almost the entire season. So, I expect maybe between 280 and 310, he's going to hit some home runs. Who knows how many? I don't want to predict he's going to hit 25 home runs the rest of the year. Could he? Yeah. Would it be great? Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's going to be a solid season. I'm not expecting massive numbers. I'll take every bit if we get that. It would be phenomenal. It's something new for the Royals to get excited about because it's been in decline with the way this offense has been. It's again the worst offense in runs per game in Royals history, worse than their inaugural season. So hopefully that trend obviously will continue. I know Hudler kept talking on the broadcast about how they're scoring 10 runs because they're excited that Jac is up. Well, okay, if that's what you need to score runs, all right. But that is not why they scored 10 runs. They scored 10 runs because they were hitting pitches that they should hit and were driving in runs with 2 outs and doing the things they should do. A little side note on Jac, just real quick. It was really cool. A week ago, I celebrated my 30th anniversary of getting called up. It was May 29th. And 30 years ago, that went really fast. But here's the cool thing about it. Not about me, but I don't have a video of it because back then the video was like camera up here.
Right.
But the cool thing was it was the same manager. Jersh is the one that set me up and did some crazy thing to call me up. So it was really neat to see that video that, Jersh is a lifer in the game, still having fun with it, still treating his guys good. So that was a really neat moment.
Yeah, that is cool. And he has been Royal for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see him being a part of that whole equation. Listen, if you've got any questions when it comes to insurance, talk to our guy, David Starnes. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-thru and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
All right, let's talk a little bit more, Jac Caglianone. Why wouldn't we? Everybody's giddy with it. What does the batting order need to look like? What is the lineup? Where, who's going to play where? We saw him at DH. They're going to play him in the outfield. He was scheduled to be in the outfield had the game not been rained out last night. So I assume we're going to see a similar lineup there. But what overall do you think needs to happen with the lineup and order, David?
Well, I think it's interesting that they scored 10 runs when they changed the lineup around. And it wasn't just Caglianone debuting. So they moved Salvi down a spot. Yeah, I don't know. They moved Vinny down a spot, and they moved Garcia up to 3, which it does create the righty, but also they're the three best on base guys, India, Witt, and Garcia. And so lo and behold, you put the three best on base guys first and they scored 10 runs. I don't think they'll score 10 runs a game. If they do, that answers the World Series question later, by the way. But I think that the lineup right now is at least the top six. I think makes some sense. I think it's fine. I think that the Royals probably oversell a little bit of the pressure, and I think some fans probably undersell a little bit of the pressure. Like just about everything, it's somewhere in between. For Caglianone at least, I tend to think it's probably more toward where the Royals are. I think it's good to keep the pressure off a rookie in their first, however long it takes. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, whatever it might be. But ultimately, I think if the Royals are going to succeed, and just to kind of make some thoughts here, I think Caglianone is going to have to be higher in the order, because if the Royals are winning, they're probably winning because Caglianone provided that spark, and hitting sixth is too low. And so I would not be shocked if he's, up at 3 and Garcia's 4 eventually. Or maybe Salvi starts hitting again and you get Garcia back into that middle of the order, the 5-6 spot with Vinny 5-6. So, but right now I'm fine with what they're doing 1 through 6. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that it puts your best on base guys at the top, gives you a little speed at the top. I still don't love. I would wish they would separate Pasquantino and Salvi just because of that speed. You're really clogging bases there when you get both those guys on. Although the way it's gone this year, people would be thrilled to have both those guys on because it hasn't happened very often. But I'm good with what it is now. But I think ultimately, if things are going to go the way they want them to go, Cags is going to have to move up.
Yeah, I think so as well. David, what do you think? What is this lineup? If he proves himself that he's the power threat. Yeah, I think a lot does depend upon Salvador Perez too, doesn't it? If Salvi would be the old Salvi, I think it gets kind of easy. I don't think you have to mess with much. It's India, it's Bobby, it's Vinny Pasquantino, it's Salvador 4, and then it's Caglianone 5. And I know to David's point about having all the kind of piano movers all there together, but as far from a protection standpoint and the power forcing people to go through. I mean, everybody would seem to get better pitches in that spot. It does have Michael Garcia. Like, where does he fit into this equation? Because he's been arguably their best hitter to this point. If Salvi doesn't hit, do you drop Michael Garcia in between Vinny and Jac Caglianone? I mean, he doesn't look like your traditional cleanup hitter, right? But
has Salvi?
Or do you are we putting too much into the right left? Is it Vinny and then Jac Caglianone's 4 and Salvi's 5, and you just hope the threat of the power of Salvador Perez gets Jack more pitches to hit. What does it look like in your mind?
Well, I think that the last sentence you made there, the threat of Salvi Perez, because as much as I love Salvi, that's all he really is offensively anymore, is just a threat, because he can occasionally hit that home run, but his bat is slower, seemingly. I don't have that stat, but it just seems like it. He's going back to the chase guy again. He's hitting weak ground balls. I mean, as soon as he comes up and there's a runner on base, my first thought, and I'm not trying to be critical or just be negative all the time, but it's like, oh God, there's an expectation of a double play right here. It's probably going to happen unless he strikes out. So for me, I don't mind seeing Cags in that 3-hole, 4-hole, and I don't mind seeing Garcia in the 4-hole either, because this isn't a club that is going to hit all those home runs that other teams hit. And so your hot hitter needs to be 4. It's not necessarily the guy that's going to hit you 30 bombs. Now, eventually, can Jack be that guy? Yeah. I could see down the road Jac Caglianone being the 4-hole hitter for years to come with Kansas City. That would be great. But right now, I'd like to see him 3, 4, 5. I agree with David. I don't want to see Jack down at 6 once he starts getting into the rhythm of playing every day in the big leagues and driving balls and hitting home runs, getting RBIs. Yeah, I think he's that 3, 4, 5. But I like the fact that if you put Jack ahead of Vinny, and when Vinny's hot, and he has had a really good May and start to June, and so that's going to give Jack even more pitches to hit. That's even better. But Jack may not get a lot of pitches to hit if Salvi's hitting behind him. It's weird to say that right now, when Massey is not in the lineup, Waters is up to 282, Isbell's up to 284. A lot of these guys were finally getting into a rhythm that guys are starting to hit. Even India is up 244. I know he's your on-base guy, fellas. I still have a big problem with India, but we don't have anybody else. So there you go. But back to the point, 3, 4, 5 for Jack is fine. I just don't like Salvi hitting behind him because he's not going to get any pitches to hit. The threat of Salvi's not going to be enough. Eventually, I think you're going to have to start having Salvi maybe just sit every once in a while because offensively, he's just not doing it. Yes, he needs to catch. Freddie Fermin's not your everyday catcher, but some days you sit Salvi not to rest just because he's not producing offensively.
I think this is interesting. I'm wondering if you've seen this one, Lesky. Have you guys seen Salvi's day versus night game stats this year? It's staggering, like 200 points different on each slash stat, way better in day games. What could explain that? D. Singer fired that one at us in the chat room. If you're watch us via or catch us via the podcast, remember you can be part of the conversation Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. I wasn't aware of that. My instinct would be, I don't know, David, do we know? Is there a history of that with Salvador Perez? I would tend to say small sample size is what would be my initial reaction, but I don't know. I've never even looked at something like that.
Well, yeah, I noticed it a couple days.
I know it's right there on Baseball Reference. You don't even have to
do
some of the deep dive stuff to get there, but it's just I've never heard of somebody being a day game player.
No, well, other than Brian Bannister, but I noticed it a couple days, maybe, I don't know, last week maybe, I guess. And then I started thinking about it, and I looked up the numbers. I pulled them up just to have most up to date. He is a 214, 264, 316 hitter as a catcher, and a 283, 328, 434 hitter as a DH. So let me ask, what position is he playing most in the day? Probably DH. I think he's not catching.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I think he's struggling when he's catching right now. I don't know if that's age or what, but that stuck out to me.
Yeah. I don't have a ready answer for it. I think that's interesting. We when I hear you guys talk, Les, what I hear is they need another bat, right? Like we're excited about the acquisition, but they need another bat, right? Like, and so like the trade deadline, they still need to go find somebody to put in there to make this work best, right?
Yes, absolutely they do. And I think that sometimes in Kansas City, we've gotten a little bit used to the emotion or hanging on to guys that we really love, crowd favorites. And look, should we be loyal to Salvi? Absolutely. He's brought so much joy in a World Series championship and MVPs and players, ALCS, all those things. So, yeah, but I still think that we need a bat. We can't fall in love with him so much that we're willing to weather. If he continues in decline, then how long do you weather Salvi's offensive lack of offense? And so we definitely trade deadline. We got to go out and get a bat. I think we have enough that we could give something. I know we will talk about pitching and 6-man rotations versus we've talked a little bit about who we could trade. It's not Salvi. We're not trading Salvi, but we can trade somebody to get another bat and then buy another bat if there's enough out there. So I think that has to happen. That should be a no-brainer.
Yeah. How about you, David? I mean, like we can kind of talk I played this game yesterday on the radio show. Like, okay, they're in the World Series. They're playing the Dodgers in the World Series. What do they do? What changed? Like, is this team right here look like one that could take you all the way to the World Series? I would say no. And some of the things I threw out there were, one, to kind of to Les's point, I think Jonathan India might be your DH. Michael Massey has figured it out, whether it's a trip down or they keep leaving him up, which still boggles my mind as to why he's up. It's the first thing that I'm really questioning what the brain trust is doing right now by leaving him up there. But somehow he's got it figured out. So they're getting better defense at second, and he's becoming the Michael Massey that hit last year. Salvi's figured it out, or he's not playing as much, and they're just spotting him. Like, but it really does look like and Jac Caglianone is hitting and is becoming a good player. I expect there to be a learning curve. I don't think he's going to be what his finished product is, but he's a good player that's providing power. But it does still, again, we're talking World Series, right? Like, I had Dan Zaborski on the radio show yesterday from Fangraphs, who was critical of the Royals offseason for not getting a bat. And we talked about it. Well, the bat everybody wanted, and the one they wanted was Anthony Santander, and he's been terrible. Really, all the other bats that were available in free agency, they've all been terrible. So, yes, it would have been great to find a bat, but it doesn't appear that there was a bat out there. So they appear to have made the right moves then. I don't know that there'll be a bat now, but it feels like to me, if we are saying World Series, not only is there another bat, but like Michael Massey's hitting, Salvi's hitting, or out of the lineup. Is Jonathan India a DH to make the the offense better? How does it look if this team comes together with championship caliber pedigree?
I mean, I think that let's go back to Sunday. Let's pretend like it's Sunday. The Royals needed 3 more bats, which is a very tall order. If Caglianone is 1, they need 2 more bats. If Massey figures it out in some way, if Massey hits like he did in 2024, that's fine, especially if the third bat is Salvador Perez. They could have all 3 bats on the team.
Right.
It's very possible. And I'm not saying it's probable, but it's possible that all 3 of the bats they need to add to the lineup are there. And it's actually a really good mix of right, left, or left, right, left, I guess. It works out really well because Pasquantino seems to have come around. Jonathan India, I was just pulling it up because I can't remember. If we go back to that time we talked about him moving back in the box, which was back on April 24th against the Rockies, he's hit 276 with a 357 on base since then. That's great. That's fine. Leadoff spot, good to go. Where he plays, that's a question. But you're right. Massey makes a lot of sense as the second baseman there. So that is a path. If Caglianone is good and those 2 figure it out. But if they don't, if one of the 3 doesn't, they need another bat. If 2 of the 3 don't, they need 2 bats. And it's they either need to go get somebody or bank on their guys to improve. And they've got the guys to improve or develop. In Caglianone's case, they've got, what is today, June 5th, till the All-Star break. They have till the All-Star break to show the Royals that, okay, we are part of the answer. And if they're not, they're going to have to go get somebody. They should probably go get somebody anyway, because I think that they're the deeper the line, better. Obviously, they've got the pitching to win. So they need bats to get to the dance. If they get to the postseason, there is no reason this pitching staff can't run the table. Truly, even with this offense, we've seen bad offenses have a good month. The 2014 Royals couldn't hit. They had 95 home runs that year. They did not hit for any power, but they ran the table because they got hot and the pitching was good enough. And this pitching staff, I think, is better. The bullpen's not quite as good, obviously, but the starters are better. If they get there, they can win. Can and will are 2 different words, but they need 3 more bats from Sunday's team.
Yeah, they can. I think you put it great. If they got there, if you could just plop them into the World Series, they could win because they could have a day pitching 4 times. And they have the bullpen. If neither team has a day pitching, they have a bullpen if healthy. Knock on wood, that's not the case right now, and we'll get to that in a minute. But they could do it. But without the bats, they can't get there, right?
I don't think they can.
They'll get caught before they get there, Les. That's the thing. So either some people really got to wake up, or they got to make an addition. And then I think the question becomes, like, how much of the future do you want to give away on this team? Like, I almost feel like a couple of bats got to wake up to incentivize them to make it worth going and getting somebody else. Otherwise, you say, hey, let's play it out. Maybe we're a wild card, but let's keep our resources. Let's keep our assets, because they do have Seth Lugo, who's going to be done. Chris Bubic has only got 1 more year. They've got decisions to make. And if you say, well, we're going to sign Chris Bubic, you're talking about $100 million contract now for Chris Bubic. That means you need even more of your young guys to come up. Like, I don't know, how much are you all in on this team to go add? Like, how much do you believe that the pieces that need to get better will get better in-house?
Yeah, and for me, I think that's why it's 1 bat versus 2. I agree that we probably need 2 at least, and I think 2 is probably a good number. But I wouldn't leverage everything yet. I'm talking maybe a frontline starter or something like that. As I'm listening to you guys talk about who has to get hot, I look at – I know Jonathan India is got that good on base percentage. That's why we had him. That's why we signed him or traded him with Singer. He's got 0 stolen bases in the leadoff spot. I look at Massey, and Massey's got, I think, 191 at bats right now. Anybody know how many walks he has?
Oh,
not like 3, right?
5. 5 walks, if I read that correctly. 5.
That's a good surprise. I thought it was 3.
Well, yeah. I mean, for you guys, look at that as a surprise. For me, I'm like, what in the world are you thinking? And so sometimes getting hot, yes, that's great. But when you don't have the right mind approach, that tells me 191 at bats and 5 walks. And I'm not hinging the whole thing on it. I don't like his swing. I like him as a second baseman. He did show promise next year. I think his swing is different. It's all arm. It's any fly balls for a guy that's not going to ever probably hit 20 to 25 home runs. So I just look at that stat and I just think, well, how's he going to get hot? And so, yes, there are guys that need to get hot for the Royals. Say, okay, we see some positive stuff to move forward. But I still think right now it is just going to be one at bat. Some of those guys are going to have to get hot. Again, not trying to be pessimistic, I just don't see who that's going to be. Just because I'm watching the approach day in and day out, I'm continuing to get frustrated and watch. But it's always about bad swings to me, bad approaches. Guys that need to get hot are getting worse. And I'll end with this. Soren, I'm with you. Michael Massey's a Chicago boy. I want this dude to succeed more than anything. When I see him on defense, I'm like, man, that dude could be an all-star defender. But then I see him offensively, and I'm just so frustrated because there's no change. And so I said this last week, if they call Jac up, that could save Zumwalt's job. But it's not just Jac, though. There's got to be some of these other guys that I need to see changes. As this hitting guru guy, I need to see changes. I need to see effort and moving in the right direction with swings, with walks, with approaches, with takes. And with some of those guys, I just don't see it. So my thought is, how are they going to get hot if those changes aren't being made? You have to have those changes. It's why big league hitters that are good because they do those things.
Yeah, I right now it feels like to me the good news is you've brought Caglianone up to where we're still a fair piece away from the trade deadline. So you get a chance to see let him settle in and then see what he does to the lineup. It gives you some time to let some more guys kind of get going and see, does it warrant adding on? Because I think right now everyone's mindset is the pitching's so good you can't waste it. And my feeling is that there's not enough there offensively to waste the prospects, right? Like, I don't know that right now one guy fixes it. We've had this conversation before. Yeah. So you need, to me, a little speech, a little Brad Pitt Moneyball speech in the clubhouse of, it's on you, boys. Like, we've given a lot. We've put a lot here. And maybe the pitchers aren't even allowed in this. It's just a conversation with the bats. Guys, we know what those boys are doing over there with the arms. You guys got to start hitting. We will look to add. Our owner has taken us beyond the budget that we were planning on a couple of times. He will go add to this club, but you have to prove that we're not just dropping a good hitter into a barren wasteland. You guys have to get going, and if you get going, we can supplement this. But I'm looking, I'm the general manager. I have to look over the horizon, and we have needs that are coming. And I'm not going to push these kids away, these prospects away, unless you guys prove that we've got everything except a guy. And then I'll go get that guy. But we got too many of you guys that aren't getting it done. That's the speech that I think needs to be made right now.
Soren, just real quick, you bring up a great point, because when those meetings, I've sat in on those meetings that are player-led, and I've sat in those meetings that are staff-led. And when they're player-led, it feels like a rah-rah thing sometimes, but it doesn't seem like, to me, experience-wise, that produces a whole lot. But when you get the brass in there, it's not this, we're kumbaya, we're all for each other. It's, you know what, we're getting paid a lot of money. It's time to have the irons to the fire and be accountable for what you're doing. And so what you're talking about, I think, would be a dramatic change in the approach and how the guys do it, because there is unity on this team. It's a great clubhouse, but sometimes that doesn't translate to the field and playing better. And when ownership or manager comes and says, look, I love you guys, you're great, but the ownership has rolled out the red carpet for you, and it's time to be accountable. And if you're not, we're not giving the farm away, but if you're not, you better get used to losing, because if it doesn't change, that's what's going to happen.
Let's use the term giving the farm away. We'll talk about signing Jac Caglianone to a long-term deal. Would it take giving the farm away? We'll do that next after you hear from our friends at Whataburger. Your favorites are back, Kansas City, now for a limited time at all your KC Whataburger locations. Get the mushroom and Swiss burger, 2 large beef patties, Swiss American cheese, fire-roasted mushrooms, and creamy au jus. How about the sweet and spicy bacon burger, 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt, even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger banana pudding shake. Remember, Whataburger's open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p to 11 a. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. you can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. All right, let's talk about signing Jac Caglianone. We've seen it. Jackson Churio, I think it's Jackson. He's on my fantasy team. You think I'd remember his first name. Of the Brewers, I think it was the last guy to sign before he ever played a big league game. He got 8 for about $80 million. So they bought out a couple of years of free agency. Caglianone has now made his debut. There are a number of guys who have signed within a week or two of coming up. Let me be clear. The Royals don't do that. I don't think it's something they want to do. I think one of the things I remember Dayton Moore saying that it feels like to me, J.J. Piccolo's of the same mindset. I haven't asked him this question specifically. It's a good time to maybe go ask him. But Dayton would say, I'd rather wait a little longer and pay a little more and know what I'm getting than try to race out there and give the contract to try to get big savings. I think part of that is there is an element of I think Dayton Moore did that in the Salvador Perez contract, the original one. And it was such a bad deal for the player.
Yeah.
That they then ended up, to a degree, I think they're in a contract now that Salvi until this year was really living up to the contract, but it was one that a lot of people thought it was a thank you. And so this year's $20 million, he's probably overpaid. So there is an element of the Royals were like, we kind of got the better of you early on in that deal. So we're going to try to make good with this deal. But, if Caglianone's people were open to it, if the Royals were open to it, should they be open to it? Should this be the plan? Should they be racing to get Caglianone signed right now, David? And where does he slot in?
Yeah, so you mentioned Churio. He got 8 years, 82. I wrote about this on Tuesday.
Yes, you did.
So I've got all the
thought process. No, sorry to interrupt you there, but may have been my thought process as to why, this would be a good topic. It was on Inside the Ground. Yes.
So I've got all the numbers, which is great. It's good to already have it ready. But the White Sox did it with Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez. Both were 6 years. Robert had a couple options, which is part of why he's so difficult to trade right now for them. That and hitting under with a sub 600 OPS, whatever. But generally, the biggest deals that have been signed, Jimenez at 6 years and $43 million. Then it drops off to Colt Keith at about $29 million over 6 years. And so I think at some point you have to look at what Caglianone got as a bonus. I don't remember what his bonus was at the 6th pick. I think it was $8 million, something like that. If that sounds right, $7 million, somewhere in there.
You're right. It was just under 8.
Just under 8. Okay. He's got money. That's part of the issue too. You look at most of these guys: Jackson Churio, international signing; Luis Robert, international signing; Eloy Jimenez, international. Then it does get into some draft picks: Colt Keith, Scott Kingery, Evan White. Boy, that's a bad deal. John Singleton was kind of the first one. I feel like he only got $10 million over 5 years, but only. I'd love that. But then you start to look. Christian Campbell I think he signed 5 days after his debut this year, which means the deal was in the works before he started. 8 years and $60 million. Lawrence Butler got 7 and 65. Ezekiel Tovar got 7 and 64. Michael Harris got 8 and 72. So there's your range, and it doesn't deviate from that really. And so what I did is I started looking at, okay, this is what he's going to get, and I gave him minimum salary next year, minimum salary in 27. We don't know what it's going to be because that'll be the new CBA, but whatever. And then he gets into what's interesting about the Royals calling him up when they did is it's before we don't know when exactly if it's going to be, but it's before what people think is the Super 2 deadline. And so what that means, if you don't know, is you get 4 years of arbitration instead of 3 because you're one of the top 22% in service time of players between 2 and 3 years. It's stupid business, not important to most people. But he's going to go through arbitration 4 times if the date actually is after June 3rd. And I kind of looked at that. If things go well, and this is best case scenario, he's going to get $60 million in 6 years after this season. I mean, so you have to make a compromise on a long-term deal. So you're probably going to say, okay, I'm going to sign for a little bit less than this. But I think you start to look at it and it's something like, I don't know. I'm trying to remember exactly what I ended up at. I think it's about 8 years and $60 million, which lo and behold, I did all this exercise.
Can we be clear? He wouldn't sign. That's what I think is the beauty of this exercise. Why would you sign it? You just said it. Like, first of all, we will look at it and say, man, if I were hurt, I want to make sure I've got that money. But to your point, he's already got the $8 million in the bank.
Yeah.
If he's a smart kid, he's that he's living off the interest on that plus a good, almost $100,000 or almost $1 million a year salary right now. Plus, he's going to be getting all the MLB advertising money that comes through the MLBPA. Plus, he's going to be a guy that's going to be hit with all kinds of commercial opportunities and make more money. He's going to make probably another at least $1 million, whether it's, the Mizunos and Wilsons and all that kind of stuff. He's probably already got a shoe deal after being a first-round pick. So, like, the incentive there, as you go through it, what I'm hearing, if I'm his agent and I've looked through those numbers, I'm hearing we're talking about 8 years. I'm going to give you 1 of free agency because the Royals are really going to control him for 7, depending upon how the Super 2 works out. And I'm talking $100 million. And is that something the Royals want to do? And how much do you believe in the player? Or do you think that, no, we need to get out there as fast as possible because he's going to be 28, 29. Like, that's the little secret about baseball is that control, particularly for college players. You're not that young when you get to free agency. And so am I wanting even more, saying, look, we got to get to free agency as young as possible because Pete Alonso got a 2-year deal and he's hit the ball over the wall a lot. And that's the problem, what you pointed out in the piece. Like, I don't know that this is a good fit for this to happen is when you play that out the way you did.
Well, and also the other thing about Christian Campbell, who was he was ranked, I think, 3rd by Baseball America. He was top 7. I can't remember. He was top 7 in all 3 of the prospect rankings. I just looked it up. His signing bonus was $492,000. That's different.
Yeah.
I would take $492,000 right now. You give me that, I'd be very happy. But he signs, it's different than $8 million that Caglianone got. We'll round it up. It's different than that. It's what 5% of that. Like it's not. That's not life-changing money. That is, I can pay off this. I can pay off that money. So he signed the deal. But yeah, Caglianone, I don't know that he would. I would do it in a heartbeat. If he takes $60 million over 8 years on the Royals, absolutely, which might be a sign that he shouldn't do it from the player standpoint. But yeah, again, Pete Alonso didn't get very much. There are a few guys. Freddie Freeman got money. Chris Bryant got paid. I think I'm blanking on somebody who got paid like in free agency. But for the most part, first baseman, you're going to get the AAV, but you're not going to get the years. And that leads to some variance. And, I think it'd be difficult to get him signed long-term unless you go above and beyond.
Yeah. Is he a guy that you think no way he fails, Les? I mean, okay.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. And I think that if the Royals were to, I don't think they will, but if they try to lock him up right now, if Jac Caglianone's agent lets him sign a deal that is, sure, if it's $60 million, that's wonderful, of course. There's so many people in this world that don't have a dollar, let alone $60 million. But we're talking about the framework of baseball and how much money there is. Knowing what he could get in a year or two when they legitimately sign it for something long-term, like a Bobby Witt Jr. type contract, I would fire my agent if he were to advise Jack, unless it was some exorbitant amount of money. It's all exorbitant, but you know what I mean in relation to what he could get. I don't think he should sign it now. But again, I don't think the Royals are going to offer that. I think they're going to follow the Dayton model of let's wait and see what we got here. But Jac Caglianone is going to bet on himself, and there's absolutely zero signs right now with what he's done, even though, again, small sample size. There's zero signs of what he's done that he's not going to be a superstar type player. He checks every box and more. And he's an advertiser and marketing gem. He's a good looking guy. He's a big guy. He's a nice guy. He's a smart guy. He's a mature guy. He comes from a great family. There's a great father, son, dad pitching to him every day kind of thing. And oh, by the way, on the field to this point, he's put up the monster numbers that fits it. And so he is going, unless something crazy happens, he's going to put up numbers and he's going to get that mammoth contract down the road. Doesn't need to be right now.
Yeah. And if you wait a couple of years, I know, where was it? Terry said comparable to Witt. In a couple of years, no, you're not going to give as much. You knew more about Bobby Witt Jr., right? Yeah. You wait a little bit. It goes back to my initial point, wait a little longer, know more what you got, pay a little bit more. to know it's there. I also think Royals fans need to be ready for it. I mean, I've said it, 2030, right now, how it stands, you control Bobby Witt through 2030. He can opt out after that. You control Jac Caglianone through 31. And I think realistically, if you want the Royals to contend, almost no one finishes their career in a Royals uniform. I mean, The ideal mathematical approach is that none of your best players ever finish their career in a Royals uniform because you have traded them at the top of their value for more talent to keep fueling it. And so you got to decide, are you going to be a team that says we have a window? Well, I will say this. If you want to play that game, you've got your defined window. It's through 2030, right? That is your window. And so if early on you want to wait for your prospects to come up, but then after that, the prospects need to be spent to fuel 28, 29, 30, or 29, 30, 28, 29, 30, maybe 31 as you finish off with Jac Caglianone, and then knowing that those guys are going to walk away, and then you're going to do an A's reset. But if you're going to try to fuel it constantly the way the Rays do, the way the Cardinals did, unless the stadium is a windfall of cash, unless going is willing to inject, more money and hold this payroll up in the 12 to, 10 to 15 range, then you're going to have to turn guys over. And I think people need to be ready for that. Cole Ragans coming back, the rotation, got to make some decisions. Did Michael Lorenzen make it real easy, David, that he's got to go to the bullpen or the IL with some kind of mystery injury or a real injury? Maybe he is fighting through something. Like, did we solve that riddle, which we've been talking about here for a couple of weeks?
I think so. It's hard to have two straight terrible starts like he's had and stay in a rotation like this. The other side of that, we talked last week, the part of the reason why I can understand their thought process if they're going to send Cameron down is they didn't have depth at AAA. Rich Hill threw 5 innings. Hal Wright threw 53 pitches yesterday. That's not there. But all of a sudden, it's, okay, maybe they don't have great depth, but they've got a couple guys now who you feel like can come up and pitch in a big league game. Maybe Wright's not quite there yet. But the conversation has changed from week to week, which happens in baseball. And so all of a sudden they do kind of have that depth. It's not as good as Noah Cameron, but I think that when you combine that with Lorenzen's last 2 starts, it's kind of difficult to see how he stays. Now Cameron could get lit up today. And this is I love seeing a second start against the same team for a young pitcher. Sorry, I won't say it out loud, but I do. I love seeing a second start for a young pitcher against a team because you just faced the Cardinals. What was it? 3 weeks ago in Kansas City, 2 weeks ago, guys. You see, I think you learn more in that second start than you do the first time through the league. And now a team's seen him. So we'll see what he does today. And he might make the decision hard again. It's very possible. I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to, you're not going to get 1 run over 6 1/3 every single time his whole career. But he looks the part of a guy who's going to keep you in a game pretty consistently. So I think the decision was made pretty easily. I did question, and this changes a little bit because they get the 27th man. But they went through a lot of relievers. I thought you might see an IL stint for Lorenzen to get Evan Sisk back up because there's 2 options on the 40-man. It's Eric Sarantola and Evan Sisk, and Sisk hadn't been down long enough, so you need an IL stint to get him back. Sarantola's not ready. Let's be real. I guess they could bring him up as a mop-up guy for a couple days, but I thought you might see that. Now we'll see. I haven't seen a roster move yet today, but I think Lorenzen's got to go to the bullpen or the IL.
Yeah, pretty simple. Less, and the good news is you feel good about it, right? If that's what you got to do, this isn't like, oh, he stinks, we're gonna hope on somebody else. You've got a good answer right now, and this is, I don't think Michael Lorenzen wants to hear this, and I think part of the reason why he didn't sign right back with the Royals is he was looking for somebody to give him a multi-year deal and say he was going to be their starter, and it didn't materialize, and so he came back and you'll be our starter to begin with. And that's that's my hope, is that there wasn't some kind of guarantee given about him being a starter. I feel very confident there wasn't, because when you dig into his contract, he has incentives based upon innings and based upon appearances. So it's kind of like, hey, if we go bullpen, you can still make some more money over here by hitting these appearances. Now, he's kind of in no man's land to where he's going to limit his innings and limit his appearances because he's kind of doing a little bit of both. He really needed to be all of one or the other to maximize that. But it looks clear that, he knew the bullpen was a possibility. And now he needs to embrace that role. As long as he can't pitch the way he is, he has to embrace it.
What is Lorenzen's making, $7 million this year?
He is making, I will give you
It's $5.5 million this year, but he's got a $1.5 million buyout. So that's
right,
why
so $7 million
you see
guaranteed.
7.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, so look, he's been around the league long enough, and I think he knows and understands the situation. Although I'm not sure. I mean, I know there's the phantom DL, whether he's hurt or not. As I'm watching these two starts, it's not about the runs he's giving up. It's about how hard they're hitting the ball. It's about when he throws strikes lately, it's been right over the middle of the plate, and we know what happens to that. But then oftentimes, too, he's way ahead in the count, and then he buries 2 consecutive pitches that bounce in there. It's 2.5 feet outside that whoever's catching is struggling to even get it. And so the inconsistency is starting to sneak up, and I don't know if he's hurt or, I mean, his velocity says that he's fine, but it just seems like the control around the plate is widening. And so then he really has to hone in when he does get behind, and then he's just right down the middle of the plate. And so, I concern myself with the guy making that kind of money. You put him in the bullpen, and the bullpen's been really good. Okay, so now are you obligated to put him out there when he's not pitching well? So you're paying a guy that much money, and you put him in the bullpen, eating up a spot that you don't ever use. And so is the IL the right thing for him, at least for right now? You don't want to make him mad. You want to respect him. But again, he's just not pitching very well right now. And the bullpen has been really good. I think Noah Cameron has absolutely earned that spot. Even if he doesn't pitch well today, I still think Noah Cameron deserves at least 3-4 more starts just to see what we really have there. He's pitched lights out for 4 consecutive starts. And so he should be there. So I see the move. The right thing is probably put Lorenzen on the IL. Again, you do have options in AAA. The bullpen's been pretty good. So that just seems like the right move to me.
Yeah, it does. And I think you need to reward success at the big league level.
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing here? We're out here to win games. Well, Noah Cameron's helping you win games.
Right.
Lucas Ursek being down, we'll finish with this about the bullpen. Where's your concern level, David, on now Harvey and Lucas Ursek being down?
Yeah, it sounds like he's fine. But I don't know. Have you guys have had your lower back hurt, right? You feel fine one day, and the next day it hurts. And it
hurts right now.
And yeah, he's a lot younger, obviously, and we recovered faster in previous years. But until he pitches again, I'm going to be concerned because back injuries are fickle, and that is a concern. And you look at the bullpen now, and they're humming along. I mean, Steven Cruz has looked really good. Carlos Estevez has been great for a month now, month and a half. Since the Rockies blow up, he's actually been phenomenal. Really, I think it was a little bit surprising to me even, and I've been a Carlos Estevez backer basically over the time. But so you feel good about him, but there's a lot of guys in that bullpen that I think there's some volatility. John Schreiber can look amazing one outing and very hittable the next. Daniel Lynch, he's walked 15 guys, I think 14 guys, whatever it is, in like 24 innings. It's not right. The control is not there with him. Serpa he's got 9 straight really good outings, or 8 straight or something like that, with 2 strikeouts. You don't succeed without striking guys out unless you have phenomenal stuff. And so, yes, this bullpen can be successful. They need Ursek back. They need another guy who you go, okay, they're fine. He comes in, I'm going to go get a drink. And if there's a runner on, when I come back, I'm going to be surprised. And they need that guy back. We talk about the trade deadline. They probably should target a bullpen arm because I love what their bullpen has done. Mm-hmm. I would love to see one more consistent arm in that bullpen.
Yeah, and the depth and you got guys are. And listen, Hunter Harvey, I'm not counting on ever again. Like it'd be great when
I don't know he exists.
Yeah, but I don't think you can count on him. It's just they've seen so little of him. Les, your fear on the bullpen, real quick. We'll give you last word.
Yeah, I'll just say that I agree with everything. I can't add too much to that. I mean, they need Ursig, and lower back is tough, man, as a hitter, as a pitcher. And when you throw that hard and when you just have all that taxing work, I mean, your back is everything. If you guys have probably ever have had back injuries, you inhale and your back hurts. I mean, you got to lay sideways. You got to lay with your feet. I mean, there's so much to it. And even when he feels good, I mean, I've pulled a hammy, felt great. They put me back on the field, and the first ball I hit, I ground out to short and then pull my hammy again because it felt good, but deep inside it still wasn't healed yet. So they're going to take their time with them, and they should, because it's a back injury. So if this team's going to be successful, you can't have a perfect bullpen all the time, especially if you get taxed and the offense continues to not score runs. The bullpen's going to get used a lot, and we need to have a healthy Lucas Ursig out there. And so, yeah, I'm concerned in that sense, but if he comes back, I'll feel a little bit better. And I will give props. I hammered on Estevez. I didn't like it, but he's been dealing, so I will give him credit. Glad to have him. Glad to see he's in that, and he's done a great job for this team.
Yeah. And that, listen, feels pretty good that Anthony Santander's not on the payroll for 20 plus million.
Yeah.
Carlos Estevez is at 11.5. Sometimes the deals you don't sign are the most important ones, for sure. Listen, you can support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors. Sponsors like our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David can help you out with all your insurance needs. He is the best, no matter what you might need. Our friends at Whataburger, they're open 24 hours, serving breakfast 11 p to 11 a. You can get things like the mushroom and Swiss burger, the sweet and spicy bacon burger, the honey barbecue strip sandwich, and my favorite, I think there might be a patty melt in my future today. Wash it all down with the banana pudding shake again. Whataburger is open 24 hours. And our friends at Greenlight, the go-to for all your cannabis needs. You can stop in, mention you saw Greenlight on the Kaufman Corner podcast with 15 locations in Missouri and more on the way. We thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. For Les Norman, for David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.